Hey everybody, it's ShadowStar here for another Doctor Who review. This time it's The Giggle, the third of these specials, and before we get into the plot as a whole, can I just say I feel like this is one of the specials that definitely needed maybe another 10-15 minutes, or maybe be a two-parter. Don't get me wrong, it's an absolutely wild and crazy story that probably could have used a bit more time. I don't usually say that about stories, but this one definitely needed a bit more time to breathe. But hey, let's get into it because, oh boy, is there a lot to unpack in this story. Well, before we do anything, we have to start off in a well, it's not completely unrelated, but we start off with the invention of TV, which it was interesting and it was a good way to kind of, at first I heard they were doing this, I was like, oh, how's this going to work? Then they actually connected because, it turns out the inventor of TV had already met the toy maker, and that's how the toy maker infects the future. So I really love that. That's one of the many reasons why I wish this story had more time, is I wanted to explore the world going nuts. Although they explored it pretty well already. Obviously, we pick up right where we left off with the world going nuts, and we even get a bit of a tease of the toy maker already when we're in the present. But, straight away, we get into it with Unit, and there's so much Unit in this episode, and one of Unit's best appearances. I mean, Kate is here, again, having only been seen literally 3 episodes prior, and then 3 more episodes prior. If you binge watch all the episodes, Kate has a lot of appearances all of a sudden, but either way. But, speaking of other people at Unit, we have Mel. Mel, as in Melanie Bush from the 6th and 7th Doctor's era, who, it's interesting they include her because, she didn't do much. Now, granted, I'm glad she's here. It was nice to have references to Sable and Glitz. It was nice to have her here. Nice little moments with her interact with Donna and the Doctor and things like that. But, it's not like she was vital to the plot like, say, Tegan and Ace in The Power of the Doctor. Still, though, that's another companion brought back. We're really bringing back everyone, though. Everyone's here. But anyway, yes, Unit. But before we continue, when we're at Unit, they're explaining why the world's gone mad, and, this almost everyone except for people who are protected are being infected with this thing that makes people think the most crazy, irrational things, or just makes people think they're right. And I absolutely love the way they handled it, where they're showing all the, first you see carnage in the streets, you see crazy stuff in politics, but then, it cuts to, news footage, and, for anyone saying, oh, the show's not political, I like the fact that they have the most on-the-nose parody of Boris Johnson. It was clearly a parody of him, or just any real right-wing politician, but it feels like an amalgamation, and, obviously got to take a jab there. But then they brought back a character, Trinity Wells. Now, people might not even know who she is, because she's a character who, unless you're a dedicated fan, you'll forget she exists, because she's a character who appeared frequently in the Russell T Davies era as a news presenter, popping up occasionally to explain the story, so to speak. But here, she's no longer a news presenter. She has her own show called The Trinity Wells Show. And she's a conspiracy theorist. Now, it's unclear if that's only because of the effect that it's having on everyone, or if that's just par for the course. As much as I'm happy to see her back, I kind of find it hilarious they've turned her from a news presenter to a right-wing presenter in the vein of, The Bolt Report or Alan Jones or any of those people. Honestly, when I realized that, I actually burst out laughing. I knew she was coming back, but that was actually hilarious that she's doing that rather than just being a generic news presenter. So that is a cameo for the ages right there. But rewinding a bit, obviously, because we find out that the origin of TV is what originated the signal, we go back, we meet the toy maker, and oh boy, the toy maker is just a bundle of fun. I mean, we knew he was going to be fun. It's Neil Patrick Harris. This was just giving the master a run for his money and just being fun all over. There is so much packed into every appearance he has. There's this great scene, first we introduce him, or we meet him, and, the Doctor meets him, and we give a quick flash to old footage of the original time we saw him, and they don't really explain why he looks different, so we can just either explain that, don't think about it, it's a recasting, or maybe he can just do that. But even more to the point of, I do find it interesting, they use this footage mere days after it's announced that we're getting an animated version of the Toy Maker. So that's not going to match up, but it still works. And I also like the fact that they don't use black and white. For a split few seconds, they colorize that split few seconds of the scene. But anyway, yes, the Toy Maker, he is just a bundle of fun. We get this great scene where, like, he goes over some of the Doctor's tragedies, and we get, like, puppet versions of, like, Amy and Clara and Bill. I guess we just forget Rory exists, and we mention Flux and even the Master, and there's this line where he says, "I made a jigsaw of your past," and I like how Russell has basically said, you can use that line however you like. You could use that to explain that maybe he's the reason we have the timeless child, or the half-human line from the movie, or whatever. Russell has really made it his mission to, rather than say, I'm going to ruin canon, he's saying, fuck it, don't think about canon, and we're going to get more into that with the ending. But yeah, Russell's clearly on a mission to say, fuck canon, just have fun. And boy, is the Toy Maker fun. But anyway, we go back to before that, we get this great scene of, like, we're wandering around a hallway. There's this really interesting scene where, like, the Doctor is actually feeling unsure and uncertain of the situation, and he's talking to Donna, and he's not sure if he can save her, and then they get split up, and there's this great scene where, like, Donna encounters some puppets, and she kicks the ass out of them, and it's always nice seeing Donna actually get furious, so that was fun. But anyway, we go back to the present. The Toy Maker. Why do I keep calling the Toy Master? The Toy Maker confronts Unit in the most over-the-top, amazing scene you can ever imagine. That dance scene was holy shit amazing. As soon as I saw that and heard the music, my fucking jaw dropped, and I was just in awe of that entire scene. He was just eating up the whole scene. I mean, you guys said they just figured, you've got Neil Patrick Harris here, you've got Russell T Davies, you love doing camp stuff, let's just have the whole scene be balls to the wall, insane. And I mean insane. The way he's dancing with everyone, it's just holy shit. Kate Stewart is really good in this episode, by the way. Rewinding a bit, Kate Stewart is great. I mean, she's always been great, but in this episode, I like how there's this moment where, because they're discussing the effect it's having on everyone, where they're thinking thoughts, and it makes you wonder, are they thinking thoughts they normally would think, but they're just holding back? Like, it's not making them think things they would never say, right? Which, if that's the case, it really opens a doorway into the inner minds of a lot of people, particularly that one moment where they expose Kate just to test it out, and she says some things, and I don't know, it's just, if that's the case, that makes an interesting doorway into Kate's mind. Interestingly enough, I like how in the going back to the first special, there was this stupid, not controversy, but stupid idiots online were getting mad about the fact that, the unit science advisor actually moves her legs. Oh, is she really disabled? Well, guess what? Not everyone who uses a wheelchair has completely disabled legs. And in this episode, there are a few moments where she gets up or stands up, and even Kate Stewart makes a reference to it. So, yeah. So those people, they're going to have an aneurysm with those scenes. But anyway, well, to be fair, I wonder if those people have an aneurysm with the pointing out of, like, the politics joke, but they're probably going to be more worried about trivial, basic things. That's the problem. They don't go after the actual political jabs. They go after the basic things. But getting off that, but anyway, this is the one reason I said the episode needs more time. It's like, you get that great scene and you realize after that, we pretty much just go to, like, a standoff on the roof with the Toy Maker and the Doctor, and it's just a bit of a standoff. Not, I wish we had more of the Toy Maker actively tormenting the world and tormenting the Doctor, but I suppose he already did that in the past. He doesn't need to do that now. I like that little role reversal where he plays a very basic game with cards first, and he's like, oh, he lost, but then the Doctor's like, well, I already won way back in the day as William Hartnell, so let's make it best 2 out of 3. That's a very clever way of doing it. But anyway, there's a scene where he's like, well, I faced one Doctor and lost. I faced this Doctor and won our card game, so I should face a third Doctor. And that was just, they didn't waste any time. Like, usually regenerations are saved for the end of the episode, but they just went for it, shot him. I was like, oh God, here we go. And all right, let's get to the elephant in the room. I had kind of heard rumors of this, but I didn't know how they were going to play out. And to be fair, I don't think anyone knew the exact way it was going to play out. The split regeneration. I absolutely have no idea how I feel about this, to be honest. I mean, like, I'm not mad, and at this point, I agree with Russell's reasoning of don't overthink it, just have fun. And I suppose, well, there's no reason he couldn't do it, and he said it's never happened before, so here we are, and which means we actually get quite a heavy amount, or at least for like the last 10 or so minutes of the episode, with our new Dr. Shudigawa. And he's brilliant already. I was like, to be fair, I hadn't seen much of him. I had no idea how he was going to play out, but I'm already loving him, and I can't wait to see how he'll play out for the rest of his run. So, that was great. I'm glad he's here. It was definitely a wacky moment. I understand some people are going to be divided, but I often say to myself, well, at this point, if we could accept the Timeless Child, we could accept anything, I suppose. So, the more interesting thing is, and it's not said in the episode, but Russell in a commentary claimed that every Doctor has split off. So now every Doctor is simultaneously alive. That's a part I find interesting. At first, when I saw it in the episode, I was like, isn't this a bit of a cop-out just to give David Tennant a happy ending? So, like, this Doctor gets to be, the idea, they say, oh, you need to slow down. But it's like, okay, this Doctor, David Tennant, is slowing down, but why is this one going off? But then when Russell said every Doctor splits off, it means that basically every Doctor will get to retire. Shudigawa will retire when he regenerates, and so on and so forth. It also means that things like the Curator from Day of the Doctor now makes more sense. We don't have to worry about things like the Season 6B theory, because now things like Patrick Troughton's appearances in certain multi-Doctor stories can make a lot more sense now, rather than, say, having to weave in where they fit into the timeline. In fact, we can fit pretty much any multi-Doctor story you want, including things like Tales of the TARDIS is now canon. Also, with all this opportunity for Doctors to just look as old as they want and split off and continue to be the way they are, Big Finish can have quite a field today. Big Finish is going to be eating good tonight. They've got all the content they'll ever need. Again, I'm not sure how I feel. At this point, I'm so used to just crazy plot twists. I'm like, okay, let's just roll with it. I do agree, though. The one thing I didn't care for is they try to explain the reason David Tennant came back in the first place is a moral message, rather than having some crazy sci-fi reason. It's just, it's a message for the Doctor to slow down. But I'm like, I wanted more out of that answer, and I know other people did too. I get the real life reason why he had to come back and so on, but I think we wanted more in the story rather than just saying, you're back to teach yourself a lesson. But, you can't have it all. Also, I guess the Master's been turned into a gold tooth, and once again, somebody picked it up at the very end. Who, though? Who was on that helipad that could have picked it up? We'll never know. I mean, we will know. Who knows? Russell T Davies, once again, setting up things for himself or other showrunners. Russell T Davies really has been running wild with previous showrunner stuff, whether it's referencing Moffat's Companions or The Flux or Timeless Children. Russell really has been paying attention to all the stories and said, I can do stuff with this. I can do stuff, whether it's referencing the torment of the Flux or the Timeless Children, referencing previous companions. He's really run it and said, yeah, all these things exist and I'm going to have fun with them. So yeah, and then we get the happy ending of 10th Doctor retiring and Shudigawa going off. I like what we've seen of Shudigawa, and it'll be interesting to see. I guess it really means, this is a nice way to kind of just have a fresh slate, a fresh new Doctor. We'll roll on, we'll have our Christmas special and all that stuff. So, fresh new Doctor, but it is a bit odd to say, David Tennant's just going to be having a happy ending, but every Doctor gets a happy ending too. Don't think about it, just have fun. Overall, this episode was absolutely amazing. Could it have used more time to give the toy maker a bit more tormenting the Earth? Yes. But otherwise, holy shit, that dance scene was incredible. Unit was amazing in this episode. Kate was great. Donna, Mel, all of them here are loving so many old references to old stuff. There's so much crammed into this episode. I just wish there was more time, because like Power of the Doctor was like a 90-minute episode. This one was only 60 minutes, but still, they crammed a lot in and they made it all work. Unit was amazing. Toymaker's amazing. I love all the fun little jabs with like Trinity Wells or roasting things in the news and so on. So, we got to have creepy scenes where we're running down the hallway with the puppets and the Doctor turning into a puppet. The Toymaker had fun revealing our past and saying so many things can be canon and not canon. So, like, this episode packed a lot into it. Obviously, this is going to be one we're going to be talking about. I'm glad they left us on this note, but at the same time, we don't have to be talking about it forever, because we've only just about 2 weeks until the Christmas special. It won't be long until we're seeing Ncuti Gatwa's first true episode, but even still, he was great in this episode because we actually got to see him for a suitable amount. He's a very interesting Doctor. I don't know how to describe him. I don't know. There's no words to describe him, but I can't wait to see how he is. But yeah, that was definitely a crazy scene. I can't wait to see reactions. But yeah, anyway, I don't know how much else to sum up this episode other than it was a ball of fun. That's the most important bottom line. It was a ball of fun. With an episode like The Toymaker, it's going to be a ball of fun. But either way, I had fun. Not much to criticize about this episode. Yes, there's controversy. Yes, people are going to have yes and no disagreements. But I don't feel like it split things nearly as much as the Timeless Children, or it could be the idea. I'd like to think that after the Timeless Children, we're so used to crazy shit that, Timeless Children already did the groundwork, so to speak. Chibnall did the groundwork of saying, right, I'll try something crazy with canon, and then Russell T Davies can come along and we're already used to it. So yeah, I think at this point we're so used to the crazy plot twists that we're less upset, we're less shaken up by it, although some people probably still are, and I'm not going to be mad at people being shaken up by this or the Timeless Children or anything for that matter. It's a new concept, but it works. Why can't anything work? Why not, right? People who are getting mad at it, it depends why they're getting mad. Some people getting mad just because they're mad, well, too bad. If you have critiques, sure, I can understand. It's a crazy concept. But just roll with it. Just have fun. That's what Russell wants, and that's what he'll get. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. It's only a few more weeks, but until then, I will see you next time for more Doctor Who reviews and other things as well. See you next time, guys.